Hunterlink started in 2010. It was the brainchild of Paddy Crumlin, and he first approached Paul Carrass.
Because we come face to face with them.
The reality is that mental illness and disability, need for early intervention and counselling touches every working family in one way or another in this country. It's just as the same as it's touched mine. I met Paul Carrass as part of my personal and my family's personal journey in that space, and he was a guy that really dedicated his life to early intervention and support mechanisms for people under tremendous stress, and we journeyed together.
Good on you, mate. Thanks.
If I could sum Paul up in one sentence, he fought for the people that couldn't fight for themselves. He gave people a voice. He advocated for those that couldn't advocate for themselves. He's one of the best counsellors that I've ever seen. He was passionate about what he did.
It's not right that you ring a bloke when you've given him days off. You ring him at home and ask him when he's ready to come back to work.
So when Hunterlink first opened its doors in 2010, Hunterlink's main goal then was to provide counselling services to the maritime industry and the local port of Newcastle. In 2012, out of severe demand, we went national and we developed an EAP program providing specialised services to the maritime industry, to stevedoring companies and to shipping companies.
We've learned how to conduct ourselves.
I was particularly proud of the role Hunterlink played in the aftermath of the tragedy when Anthony Attard was killed in Melbourne. Paul Carrass, who ran Hunterlink, was one of the first responders to that incident. He was straight down there to Melbourne. He spent a week on the job with our members, providing trauma counselling and assistance in dealing with the aftermath of that workplace tragedy.
What happened at the time was, if we didn't have Hunterlink, our members would be in a lot worse place. Some I don't know where.
We've developed an extensive footprint across all of Australia. We're able to provide services instantly to all remote ports, all the capital cities, anywhere in Australia. If you need help, you're in the maritime industry, we're able to provide services immediately. We have counsellors that are actually manning the phones 24 hours. You're talking to a qualified counsellor then and there. Those counsellors do specialist training in the maritime industry. So they understand what seafarers, they understand what port workers are going through. Sometimes more importantly, they understand what the family members are going through as well.
The National Council, the Maritime Union, maritime unionists and CFMEU unionists were determined to get in that space and help those working men and women and their families. We built this network that's just extraordinary.
The things that we're seeing in the maritime industry today around substance abuse, alcohol remains the most commonly abused substance, followed by cannabis. Amphetamine, or predominantly ice use, is really on the rise. Also prescription medication. For every 3 scripts written in Australia by a doctor, one of those is for an S8 drug. An S8 drug is a drug of addiction. Got a lot of workers out there with bad backs, predominantly males in between 45 and 55. They go and see a doctor for a bad back problem. They're put on a very powerful drug, OxyContin, Endone, and all of a sudden there's a drug problem in the workplace. On top of that, people are actually abusing those medications, so we provide a lot of education around that. It's not just around generalist counselling, it's education is the key for that. We connect people into pain management clinics. We connect them into treatment centres that can actually help with the initial problem that they've got.
We had some suicides, we had some attempted suicides. We had all of the problems. There were harassment and bullying that had gone on. There were people that lost their jobs out of the blue, like Hutchinson.
We saw a lot of workplace issues around redundancies and rosters, and that's again part of the work we do, is trying to understand what's happening in the workplace.
In many instances, it was maritime workers coming to a Hunterlink in the first instance saying, well, I've got to do something. I've got this terrible situation at home with my son or my daughter or my partner, and taking those problems on the job.
A lot of family counselling, a lot of relationship counselling, couples counselling, We see a lot of domestic violence in Australia, and that's quite a key issue for us.
I swear never to commit violence against women.
We're counselling and putting programs in place for not just the victim, but for perpetrators as well. We're not a one-sided organisation. If someone requires help, we'll give them help.
This is our oath.
In the last financial year, we had over 1,000 calls from international seafarers.
This hulking vessel, flagged in Panama and crewed by Filipinos, has been...
When the Sage Sagittarius berthed in Newcastle, by the time we actually got to see the crew on board, not only were they highly anxious because there'd been suspicious deaths on board, but the type of police involvement that was there, it was a very stressful situation for them. It was quite evident to us that outside of the ITF that no one was really looking out for these guys.
We saw a case for Hunterlink to come and counsel these seafarers, and they welcomed it with open arms. They did it in a gentle way. Hunterlink are a vital part of securing the dignity and the safety for seafarers and for our members as well.
So one of our
Hunterlink was born out of the courage, conviction, determination of people, and Paul Carras was a person who had addictions and had come to terms with them and had built a new life. And in building a new life, were determined to reach out and help other people like he was helped. Highly intentioned, highly disciplined and courageous person who dedicated his life to other people. Now that was an inspiration.
We're a very solution-focused organisation. We're not about just sitting there and listening to the problem. We actually want to help.
Last year, the Seafarers Trust came to Australia, and the first and the highest thing on their agenda was to meet representatives Paul Carras and others from Hunterlink. The Trust was so impressed in that we started to discuss how we would roll out a Hunterlink type service for all seafarers. 1.3 million seafarers around the world, and we're in the process of doing that now.
We're seeking to do the same with international through the ITF and international agencies to make sure we can be as good as we possibly can in giving working men and women support in a way that's transformative for their life, may save their life, may save the life of one of their families, may return someone to a functional and better life. That's unionism. That's our type of unionism.